It's 7 p.m. It's Monday, the 9th of November, 2020, and this is a regularly scheduled town board meeting. First order of business is roll call. Mrs. Green?
Here.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Present.
Mr. Manley?
Here.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Here.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, if everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Deputy Supervisor, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there's not.
Okay. Next, we have approval of audit.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for the approval of the audit for $1,362,232.10. Do I hear a motion?
so moved.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 6 for animal control, a T94 withdrawal. Item A, September 2020 billing, Newburgh Veterinary Hospital.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion for, let's see, the total is $1,733.61 for the from the T94 account, which is an all non-taxpayer donation account. I'm looking for a motion to pay Newburgh Vet for that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 6B, October 2020 billing, Newburgh Veterinary Hospital.
I'm looking for a motion here from our T94 all donation account for a total of $671.69.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 7 for the engineering department. The first item A, approval to solicit bids for North Fletcher Drive water main extension.
Okay, this is obviously for the North Fletcher Drive water main extension. And this is the motion to adopt the schedule as presented. Mark Taylor, is there anything else or is that it on that one? No, you're muted, Mark, but I think we're okay.
That's it. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm looking for that motion.
I'll
I'll
make
make
the
the
motion.
motion.
Mr. Lobiondo made that motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 7B, approval to solicit bids for Meadow Hill South Relief Sewer.
Okay, I'm looking also for a motion to schedule the bids as presented for the Meadow Hill South Relief Sewer Project.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 7C, which is the award of contract for Gardnertown Road culvert replacement.
Okay, get a recommendation award here. 14 bids on this, and it's basically for the award of the contract for the Garnetown Road culvert replacement. It's a long history here. The lowest bid is Riffenberg Contracting Corporation for $1,224,551.75. Looking for a motion to accept that.
I would love to make that motion. This is, been around for years.
Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 7D, which is approval to start process to hire a secretary for the engineering department.
Can I get a request from James Osborne, town engineer, to start the process of filling the secretary position? This is the 2021 budget for the engineering department / water sewer department. And I'm just looking for a motion to start the process for hiring.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second, please? Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 8 for the Code Compliance Department. Approval to start process to hire part-time fire inspector.
I got a request from Jerry Canfield, Code Compliance, via Charlene Black, Personnel Director, looking to start the replacement process of a part-time fire inspector. If I can get a motion for that.
So move.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 9 for the Jewish Family Service Memorandum of Understanding for 2021.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion. This is Jewish Family Services Memorandum of Agreement for, or Memorandum of Understanding for 2021 to assist with $2,000. This is 11-year program. That's just a good program, just a good promotion.
I would
I'll
be,
make that.
okay, go ahead, Paul.
Well, that was Anthony, actually.
Oh, okay.
Councilman Lobiondo made the motion. Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it. I've been the liaison to Friends of Seniors since its inception, and it does a fantastic service for our seniors in the town.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Abstain.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 10 for the Water Department. Item A is budget transfer for sludge removal.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt, or, yeah, sure, to adopt this transfer. Basically, it's out of the New York City Water Board money going to the Chadwick Lake money, sludge hauling and chemical budget short of Chadwick Lake. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 10B, which is a water supply budget transfer.
Okay, same thing. I'm looking for a budget transfer in the water supply budget. Basically shifting the production, it's because of the shift in production of treated water from the Delaware Aqueduct supply to Chadwick Lake. So you just have to move the budget from the aqueduct to Chadwick Lake. And looking for a motion, this is $160,000.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Councilman Lobiondo made the motion. Do I have a second, please?
Yep, I'll second it.
Was that Councilman Ruggiero who seconded?
Yes, it
Yes.
was.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 11 for Madre de Cristo Road, return of letter of credit.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion. Madre de Cristo Road, I guess it's 2 years ago when we transferred this over. And there is I'm looking for a motion to release the maintenance security, which is a letter of credit, I believe, Mark.
Correct.
And I'm just looking for a motion to go ahead and release that. And it appears our town attorney and Mark Hall, highway super, is okay with it. If I can get a motion for that.
so move.
I'll make the motion.
Then I'll second your motion.
Thank you, Betty.
Councilman Ruggiero, did you make that, or was it Councilman Lobiondo?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
was me,
Councilman
Paul.
Lobiondo made the, Paul. Councilman Ruggiero made the motion. Councilwoman Green seconded the motion. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 12 for buildings and grounds. It's the lease of copier for town hall.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion. We have 3 vendors that made bids, Canon, Toshiba, and Ricoh, however you pronounce that. Anyways, the adjusted annual cost, the cheapest would be Canon, and we're looking for a motion to go ahead and okay that or approve that. Do I get a motion on Canon?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 13 for the assessor. Schedule a public hearing for introductory local law 3 of 2020 for solar pilot.
Okay, this is for a public hearing. I know Mark Taylor, our attorney, has discussed this along with the whole board about this solar pilot local law. And we're looking to have a public hearing, I believe, Mark. And we're talking about the first meeting in December.
That's correct. You already have one here
At 7.
continuing that evening on
So-
the records retention law.
Mr.
So we're-
Deputy Supervisor, that first meeting is December 14th.
December 14th. Okay. I looked at it wrong. I'm sorry. Anyways, okay, so 7:15, is that okay there, Joe?
7:15 is good.
so move.
7:15 on the 14th.
So move.
Okay.
Do I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes,
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes,
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Next, we go on to item 14 for announcements.
Okay, I'll go right down here. Betty Green, you want to go first?
okay. I want to invite everyone and have them kind of put it on their calendars because we would love to see them. We're having a service on Wednesday of I'm sure I didn't write down the date, isn't that something? The November the 11th. It is 11/11/11. It is the commemorate the end of World War I. It's Veterans Day. It's a holiday for many of us. But at 11 o'clock, we will be having a service here in the parking lot, staying roughly 6 feet apart. We've invited the fire departments, the American Legion, any veteran to come and join us to honor our ancestors, many of them who died during World War I. In fact, I have two uncles that were gassed at World War I and passed away from being gassed. So it is very special in our history, and we invite you to come and hope to see you on the 11th to honor our past veterans.
Thank you. Paul, you have anything?
No, I have nothing, Scott. Thank you.
Anthony?
No, nothing. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, the only thing I had also was Veterans Day, so hopefully we'll get a few people out here, obviously social distancing and mask. And that's it for announcements.
Okay, next we go on to item 15 for public comments.
Okay, if we can, Bobby, can you unmute Bill?
Yeah.
Bill Feder,
Hi, folks. How are you?
thanks
Hey,
for coming
Bill.
out.
Oh,
You're welcome. You're welcome. 3 items, some questions, some
Okay,
just a comment. The Gardnertown culvert, is there a mandated time frame from date of award to beginning of project? Do we know, or?
see what it says on the schedule. Mark, do you know offhand while I'm pulling up the schedule?
No, I'm sorry.
'Cause I know originally they were trying to, when things were normal, they were trying to work around the bus schedule for the kids and do it when school was out, I think, but
Yeah, I mean, let me, oh, that's the North Fletcher Drive.
Now I
Meadow
guess
Hill, oh, it's the same one. The execute contract and pre-construction meeting is February 4th. I just don't know what the time frame is, how long it would take for them to start after that.
okay, so
I don't
it's not,
see-
it's not before the winter then, that's for sure. So,
No.
no.
okay, okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, there you go, Jim. We didn't know you were on there.
Yep.
Hey, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim.
The actual physical construction is probably going to take a while because one of the first things that they're going to have to do is fabricate the concrete structures that they're going to use for the culvert replacement. And from what I understand, that has been a long lead time to get those structures prefabricated and
Right.
delivered to the site.
Okay.
So
okay.
the actual schedule, one of the first things that we'll be demanding from the contractor will be a schedule of completion within the time frame of completion for the contract. And that'll
Right,
dictate
right.
when we actually shut the road and when we
Okay, okay. I
start.
think the overall, sorry. The overall allowable time was stipulated in the contract, I think, wasn't it, from start to
Yes,
finish?
it is.
Okay,
I believe it's 120 days, although if the contractor can demonstrate that it's the fabricator's long lead time, he may be granted a no-cost
right,
extension.
right, okay. On the new topic, that intermunicipal water transfer with New Windsor, did that ever take place, or?
Scott, I can answer that. Yes, we tested the
please.
interconnection on November 23rd. It was quite successful. The average transfer from New Windsor into the town of Newburgh was about 850,000 gallons per day. We will hope to repeat that test because we identified a few operational tweaks to make sure the water's going where we want it to go.
Right,
And we will probably repeat that test on another 3-day test schedule sometime in the future.
okay, thank you. One last thing is on the solar topic tonight. I was misconstrued myself with a solar pilot. I thought maybe there was a pilot project. So in the announcement, make sure you say it's payment in lieu of taxes, so people are not confused. I'm embarrassed that I have to say that I didn't realize it, but I didn't. So
Thank you.
that's it. And thank you, folks, and we will see you Wednesday.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. And then, let me see here. Somebody's under TMPD. If you want to unmute.
It's up to them if they
Okay.
want to unmute. So
Yeah, the only other one we have in the public here looks like TMPD. If you want to say anything.
we're staying muted.
All right, they're staying muted.
We have Jimmy too, but it's up to them.
Okay, and anybody else want to say anything? Jim? Pursuti, I see you're on there.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, Joe, I think we can go on to the next item.
Okay, next we go on to item 16 for adjournment.
I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
A motion made and seconded to adjourn at 7:20 PM. Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio is absent. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out or turning on your computer. Thank you.